Good afternoon, Ambassador Schneck. We're delighted that you're here with us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're here to ask you some questions today about the role of Germany in Syria and how you view the current situation in Syria. So we're very interested to hear your perspectives, your thoughts, and how you see the situation developing over the coming months and maybe years. Thank you.
I'm looking forward.
How do you assess the current situation in Syria after more than a decade of conflict? What are the main challenges facing the political settlement efforts today? And do you believe that the Constitutional Committee is an effective step towards a political solution?
First of all, the situation, of course, in Syria is dire and it becomes worse by the day. On the political process, I must say it is very clear that we face the problem that the regime is not willing to engage into such a process. Unfortunately, they did not respond to the invitation to the Constitutional Committee in Geneva from the Special Envoy Patterson. And I would say that it is still a question of the willingness of the regime and, of course, the readiness of the foreign powers who intervened in Syria, like Iran, that the political process could go on for the sake of Syria. And the Council Resolution 2254 is, of course, still the valid framework, and it is a good framework where all parties can rally around and get into a meaningful dialogue.
Thank you. And you mentioned the role of Iran. So how do you coordinate with international actors like Iran and others on Syria?
The role of Iran, of course, is absolutely negative, especially given the fact that Iran misuses Syria for its wider regional and aggressive policy. At the same accounts for Russia, which is growing by the day weaker because of the role in Ukraine. But I think it is of utmost importance that the regime gets into the discussion within the framework of the UN as it was decided by the UN Security Council, including China, Russia, US, UK, and France.
Thank you. What do you see as the biggest challenges to peace building in Syria and the region, especially with the escalating conflicts and tensions? Do you think these tensions between various powers are complicating the political scene, or is there any opportunity to leverage these developments for progress towards a political solution?
While the current situation, of course, is very worrying, it is a reminder, though, that what seems to be stable is not that stable as it seems. And it is a reminder that all actors on the ground should get together to solve the problems, to communicate for the sake of the Syrians and for the whole of Syria.
And are you satisfied with the actions taken by Austria, Italy, and other European countries in dealing with Assad? Do you think Germany will take similar steps? And how do you evaluate these actions in light of the need for a unified European stance on the Syria crisis?
We have a unified European stance, which is laid down by the Council conclusions, which we all agreed is the strategic framework, which has 6 objectives, positive objectives, like the political process, of course, helping the Syrians on the ground. On the other hand, we see that we have new challenges, and we're discussing it continuously within the EU to find the correct solutions for the new challenges. So we are looking into our instruments to adapt and optimize them. And I might give you 2 areas where we will step up our engagement. The first one is Captagon. As you know, it's a question of utmost importance for the stability within Syria, but also for the wider region. Therefore, we decided that we will discuss a EU strategy to fight Captagon with regional partners and also within Syria. On the other hand, we have a second topic, for example, early recovery. We see that the urgency help of humanitarian aid is not enough anymore. It is a protracted conflict, so we have to engage with more sustainable projects. And everybody will understand it, that it's more effective to build water pipes instead of water trucking. So I think the quality of our help has to increase. And this is, of course, a process which we're doing in a coordinated manner within the EU.
Thank you very much. Sticking to the south now, and given the Russian, Iranian and Israeli interventions in southern Syria, specifically in the Daraa province, how do you view the impact of these interventions on the region's stability? How can Germany contribute to maintaining stability in southern Syria, particularly under these conditions?
Well, I've already mentioned the negative impact of the Iranian and the Russian presence. Iran is supporting Hezbollah. Hezbollah is very much engaged in Captagon trafficking and also production with the regime. Therefore, the destabilizing factor continues to grow, not only by military action, but also by supporting those criminal structures. Therefore, we have to see Captagon as a holistic problem. It has a regional and a political side, but it also, of course, a health and a societal side. And therefore, we raise this issue within the EU and put it on the table.
Thank you very much. And sticking to this point of society and societal change, what is Germany's vision for supporting national reconciliation efforts in Syria? And how can the international community, and Germany in particular, provide the necessary support to achieve comprehensive reconciliation between conflicting parties and enhance stability in the country?
Well, first of all, as you know, Germany is one of the biggest donors who's supporting grassroots and civil society projects. One of our major political take here is that we take Syria as the whole of Syria. It's not only about Northwest or the Damascus area or Northeast, but we are thinking about the whole of Syria and doing projects where we have interconfessional and also inter-ethnic contacts and networks. And those networks are very important to show that there is a peaceful future for Syria, where Kurds and Arabs, Alawi and Sunni, Shia and Druze, they get along and they have common interests and they have a common understanding, even though they have also different pasts and different identities and different stories, which all mean something in the discussion. But therefore, this is democracy. We need an open discussion, an open mind for such discussions. And this is an important part in order to gain peace in the long run.
Thank you. And in light of the decline in international funding for Syria, despite growing needs on the ground, does Germany plan to reconsider its humanitarian and developmental aid funding, especially considering that it is one of the largest donors?
I think there are maybe three aspects here to look in. The first, of course, is the international governmental support. As I mentioned already, we understand that the help has to be more sustainable. Therefore, we shift our support from humanitarian aid to early recovery, which is more sustainable and therefore has a better humanitarian profit in the end, a better result. On the second, of course, we should not overlook the support which comes through private channels. The remittances from Germany are growing by the year because the Syrians in Germany integrate into a labor market. And this is by far the biggest part of financial aid, which is about 3.7 billion in the last year. And I would like to mention a third point, which we sometimes forget. Humanitarian aid and early recovery support is very important. Remittances are even more important. But the most important is, of course, that the de facto authorities on the ground, that they get together to integrate the market and that the mismanagement of funds stop.
Thank you very much. I'm moving on now to a final question. What is Germany's current policy regarding Syrian refugees? And are there plans to facilitate their integration or encourage their return to Syria if safe conditions are met?
Well, first of all, integration of Syrians in Germany is one of our priorities. Last year, we spent 27 billion for integration, which is a huge burden. And there are big critics also in Germany, but we see it as an investment in the future and in the people. It's about language courses, but integration goes farther. So it's about communicating with your neighbors, integrating into the labor market. Those are huge challenges which the Syrians, with the help of the German government, has to face and where we are ready to further invest. On the second hand, we've been always clear that Syrians have the right to return. And we very much stick to the principle of a voluntary, safe, and dignified return, the UNHCR principles. This is still our guiding principle. And we have concerning returns, two issues. The first is, of course, livelihoods. I've talked already about it. That is important that we also get a good situation on the ground so that our help can really flourish and change things. We are ready to engage. On the second side, of course, it has protection issues. So as long as people have to fear to disappear in Syria into different prisons, to get tortured, when they come back, they don't have their houses or somebody else is living there, the HPL rights. I don't see a situation where a lot of Syrians are willing to return or can return. And it is very much up to the de facto authorities and the regime to give proofs and to give guarantees that people who are willing to return can do it in a safe, voluntary, and dignified manner.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Schneck, for taking the time to do this interview, and we very much appreciate your candid and detailed answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.